Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our show, Spot on the Money. I'm your host, Ali Hashemian, and today I have the President and CEO of Fitzwilliams Financial, Mr. Tim Fitzwilliams himself. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ali. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. We're doing great, and it's our pleasure to have you. We're excited for all the knowledge. We like to start off the first segment of the show by putting a spotlight on a story.
Okay.
I know you have a great story about a client that went through some stuff before their husband passed away. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we had a client, a husband and wife, that did quite well in life in their careers, and they sold their practice, and they were heavily invested in the market, and he found out that he had cancer. Oh. It changed their viewpoint on the market and decided they wanted to hedge and build some guaranteed value inside of their portfolio. And so they really were emotional about that because they weren't sure if it was going to be a short bout with cancer or a long-term bout with cancer, but it was something that they needed to take care of. So they came in and we did that alteration to their portfolio for them. Everything was good. They were coming to our events. They were meeting other clients. We like to have fun like that. And everything was going fine until it wasn't. Then, he told me he probably won't come to my next event.
Oh.
And it wasn't because he didn't like coming to my events. And he was that type of joker. And he ended up passing, Ali. And when he did, it was, of course, very emotional. But if you can think for a moment, all the 1-800 numbers that you may have to call and the stuff that you have to get, like death certificates and all that, who wants to ever deal with something like that, right?
Wow.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, you've dealt with that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the last thing you ever want to deal with. And you're calling these 1-800 numbers and you're not getting an answer. And so when they came to us, they made it clear that they wanted us to take care of everything for them because we are a full-service concierge-based firm with the tax planning and the estate planning and all of that built in. So it was myself, my wife, and the attorney. We're sitting in the room when she came in, and she was very distraught, and we told her that, what would you like to do right now? And we asked that question. She said, look, I wish I could just put this behind me, go on a cruise with my daughter, my family, and come back to this later, right? That's what I really like to do. Well, she didn't realize that we were able to make that a reality.
Wow.
Because we had our team working on the case.
So she could go enjoy her life
right,
while you and your team took care of all of that.
Absolutely. So we immediately had our attorney order the death certificates and then get copies from the insurance policies and then start the process and all that. So instead of like 5 different 1-800 numbers, she just called our number.
Wow.
And so it allowed all that heartache and pain not to go away, but to not be aggravated by dealing with all the minutia and logistics of death, especially if you've saved up a decent amount of money relative to your lifestyle. Someone has to figure out how to get it, what happens, who to call, where's the beneficiary forms, and all that type of stuff. When she came back, Ali, it was all done. It was such an amazing feeling to be able to tell her, we've moved everything, it's all transferred the way you wanted it, everything's done the way you wanted. And that was probably one of the most amazing experiences that we've had when it came to planning someone's retirement into their death and seeing the results of that.
I mean, we start out by talking about how you helped them reduce risk in their portfolio before all of this happened. I know market volatility is crazy, and so people are talking about it. But then the story goes on to all these services that you guys provide. It sounds like it's more than just performance and returns. It sounds like a lot of this has to do with all of the other parts of financial planning that we don't think about.
It all goes together, Ali.
Yeah.
It sure does.
Yeah. And so you guys have been doing this for a while there.
Yeah.
And part of it is this estate planning on top of investment planning. But these things go together, I guess, huh?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. It's one of the pieces, right? We look at the 5 cornerstones of financial planning, right? That's how we look at things when we analyze the client's portfolio. We're looking at investment planning. That's where we have our CFA. That's where he's looking at it, which is the highest level of intellectual capital. You know, it's kind of funny. People will say, oh, I have, do I have a CFA or not? And they're not sure. I always say, look, if you want to find out if you can talk to a CFA, look at your 401, look at the different holdings you have, find one of those holdings and call and try to talk to the fund manager, right?
Yeah,
Probably won't happen, right? But at Fitzwilliams Financial, we allow that to actually happen. We have a CFA that's handling our stuff. And so that's the investment side of the house, right? Then you have the tax planning, which is deeper than just getting your taxes prepared. Right. We've talked about that before, tax planning versus tax preparation. Then you have retirement planning, budget analysis, right? Understanding what it is you should buy or shouldn't buy based on your current flow of dollars and what you want to leave behind. Then, of course, you have insurance planning. No one wants to talk about that, but long-term care is a big factor with that, right? And maybe life insurance. Maybe there's some structured policies that you bought that you might want to look at. Does it need updating? Is it in the right place right now in today's world? And then last is the estate planning, where we look at that to see, well, now that we've done all this planning, what's the result? Well, what are the kids or the people that are inheriting this going to see and have to pay in taxes? So it all goes hand in hand, man. It really does. And that's what we pride ourselves on, is having that full holistic firm. Whereas I think a lot of advisors try to do it all themselves or just focus on one thing, which is great if they focus on that one thing, but there's all these other pieces that you have to go through.
Right. And I know some of our viewers out there probably want to do it themselves, but I know a lot of them probably don't want to do it themselves. We're going to cut to a commercial break here soon, but before we do, if they don't want to do it themselves, they want to work with somebody like you, what do they do? What are the next steps, and what can they expect?
Absolutely. So if you're the type of person that you want to do yourself, that's fantastic. I wish you the best. Just know it's going to take a lot of time. But if you're the type of person that you are valuing what you do for a living more than trying to learn another trade, then that's the type of person we want to talk to. We'll help you understand what you have. We'll go through your estate plan. We'll go through your risk analysis. And you'll have a meeting with us where we get to know you, understand what you have, understand what you want to accomplish. And then in our second meeting, we'll do an analysis for you. We have over 60 different pieces that we're going through that we'll provide you and show you so that you're able to have a good understanding of what you have. We call that our green light retirement check. So if you want a green light retirement check, give us a call at 1-800-685-3194. Again, 1-800-685-3194.
Well, folks, you heard it from the president and CEO himself, Mr. Tim Fitzwilliams. Give them a call if you are looking for that professional, hands-on, custom approach. Like he said, if you want to try and do it yourself, good luck, but it's probably going to be pretty complicated. We got a great segment coming up for you next, so stay tuned. Thank you for joining us on Spot on the Money. We'll be back soon.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Hello, and welcome back to Spot on the Money. I'm your host, Ali Hashemian. Again, we have our guest, President and CEO of Fitzwilliams Financial, Mr. Tim Fitzwilliams himself. All right, Are you ready for some fun? We're going to put you on the spot here. This is the segment where we take an audience question and turn it over to you. So our question here today is, I heard bonds are a good conservative investment. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, we have to ask ourselves, do interest rates affect bonds, right? They work inversely of each other. So if interest rates are going up, because I don't think they're going to go down, then perhaps bonds would go down. So when we look at bonds, as a firm, we've really been doing our diligence to figure out a bond alternative model. What things are out there in the financial space that can replace the hedge that people rely on bonds for?
And that is really what people have been relying on for in the past.
Right. The basic 60-40 conversation has been forever, yeah.
And what does that mean exactly for our viewers that may
the
not?
60-40, like I'm going to have 60% in bonds and 40% in stocks when I retire because then I have a good balance.
Right.
But if interest rates are going up, now what you thought was going to be safe might be losing money as well.
Yeah, and
so now you're losing both sides, and that's not good.
And that's the problem. I guess, especially if you're retired, right?
Because you can't fix it.
Yeah.
It's not like you can go and put money back into your IRA anymore.
Is that why? Because of the time that you have? Or
yeah, I mean, your horizon changes, right? If you're younger and you put into your 401k, you take a dip, okay, fine. You're gonna bounce right back, plus you're putting money into it.
Right.
That's the big factor, Ali. A lot of people don't remember is that they put money into that 401k.
Right.
A lot of those gains are what people put into it.
Right.
So when you're retired, you're no longer putting in. So you feel that down.
Yeah.
You feel that up. So it's very important that you understand what's there is what's there, and that's it.
Yep.
Now, how do we make it work?
And I guess if you're taking money out,
if you're forced to take money out, right? As the government likes to do.
Because that's another thing that people are facing with this required minimum distribution. There's a lot of changes happening there, too.
Oh, sure, yeah. You know, they've said if you're 72 years old, and we still don't always rely on the table, but for the viewing audience, the idea is if you're 72 years old, you follow this chart, and that tells you the percentage that you should take out of your qualified funds, the funds like IRAs and 401ks. And you follow that along until you're in the backside of your 80s and you're taking out about 10% a year. So it's a forced thing.
Yeah. And, you know, I know we're talking about investments, but I guess our required minimum distributions have something to do with that as well.
Absolutely.
There's this whole Secure Act thing that everybody's talking about.
Right.
What's going on there?
Well, what the press released and everybody heard and what the noise was about is that required minimum distributions limitation changed. The age went from 70.5 to 72. Easy peasy. What wasn't discussed, and I found out, like, it happened like right during Christmas break, when they released it, and then, you know, nobody was around to actually figure out this 700-page text.
Yeah, it was convenient timing, right?
Absolutely, right? I wonder how that worked out. So when we actually got to comb through it, they completely eliminated the IRA stretch option.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, but to make that simple for the viewers, it means that when you die, the IRA would have gone to your kids. It still will go to your kids, but before they had the option to decide how they want to take the distribution, and they could stretch it out over their lifetime. Now, no option. You got to empty the whole thing inside of 10 years.
Wow.
So if you get $1 million, that's $100,000 a year in ordinary income tax that inheritor has to now pay.
That almost seems like the inheritance isn't even worth it after all the taxes.
Well, that's where it gets interesting.
Yeah. And so you guys deal a lot with clients that have RMDs and they're having to deal with this.
Oh, yeah.
Does that change their investment philosophy a little bit when you're trying to figure out what to put in their portfolio?
I think it does a little bit. I think that when you have to take out RMDs, you realize that can be, depending on the amount that you have saved up, that could be a income stream. So if you know that the 401k, the IRA, the alphabet soup, whatever you want to call it, the TSP, if you know that account is going to turn into income and you know you have to take RMDs, then you might want to look at utilizing some financial tools to create an income pension out of those accounts so that it'll automatically satisfy the RMD and you don't have to worry about the volatility or the balance of it. A lot of people use that as a hedge and say, okay, well, build me a spot where I know I can satisfy my RMDs and let me have my lifestyle at the same time.
That makes sense, I guess. If I'm going to create an income portfolio or an income strategy, I might as well create it in the stuff that I know I have to take income from, right?
That's exactly right. So we look at the IRAs to create private pension models.
Got you. So the investment part of required minimum distribution, that definitely obviously changes. What about taxes? Does that come into play or change when you have required minimum distributions?
Absolutely. It's income because it came from those accounts that grew tax deferred, right? You got a paycheck and you saw it come out, right? And you're like, okay, it's growing tax deferred, and you're able to take a deduction your whole life. Well, now it's time to pay.
Yeah.
So now it's coming out. You're being forced to take it out. And if you don't, this is the crazy part. If you don't, there's like a 50% excise penalty. So no one wants to get into that. And that's another reason, Ali, that the average consumer goes to a CPA, goes to an accountant, doesn't get told the entire story of how RMDs work because the liability is so high.
Right.
For example, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you, you don't have to take it all out of one account. There's a number that you have to satisfy, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that gives you some leverage, right? Maybe you want to burn down one account and try to defer another account. There's a lot of different play, but that's not how it's sold. You get a statement from one of your investment accounts, and you're like, oh, I have to take out X. I'll take out X. Oh, I got another statement. I have to take out X, so I take out X. And that's not how the law is written, but that's how it's simple for the companies.
Yeah, and I guess that's the easiest way is just to take it out of everything in equal amounts. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense. So you're saying take it out of one account or take it out of the other account, depending on which one makes the most sense at that time, huh?
Absolutely. And the only way you can do that is if you're looking at it all the time.
Right. And that's hard to do if you're doing it yourself, I guess.
Right. The do-it-yourself model works, but you better put in the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but most retirees, I would think, at least my clients have told me, they don't want to put 25 hours a week in because, Ali, what we forget about, because of this bull market, right? We forget in order to do it yourself, you really need to have a charting service and spend about 25 hours a week looking at your portfolio and understanding what you have.
Right.
And if you're going to continue to do that, then yeah, you'll be ready to go when it's time to take RMDs because you'll know which accounts are best and what the tax situation is and all of that. But if you're not going to put in 25 hours a week, folks, if you're not going to subscribe to a charting service, or if any of that confused you, which I don't blame you, it's very complicated and I'm in the business, then you can give us a call at the 1-800-685-3194 number, and we'll answer those questions for you, and we'll make it simple so that you understand what you have.
So, Tim, we're going to cut to a commercial break here shortly, but before we do, and thank you for all of this information. As our viewing audience can probably tell, it gets very complicated. We started this conversation talking about investments, and now we got into RMDs, taxes, all these different things. So I do think it's worth it for you to give them a call at 800-685-3194. But before we cut to commercial, Tim, can you tell them just real quickly what they can expect if they do call that number?
Sure, Ali. When you give us a call, you're going to expect you being able to sit down and talk with an advisor who's going to go over what you want to accomplish and your portfolio. They're going to look at it from taxes, they're going to look at it from your risk tolerance, and we're going to look at it from estate planning as well. And then we're going to do an analysis, and then in your second meeting, this is all complimentary, you haven't paid a dime in anything as of that time, we're going to show you what our experts have found. And we're going to see if it aligns with what you thought you have. And a lot of times it doesn't always align. So if you'd like to find out if you have what we call the green light to retire, give us a call at 1-800-685-3194.
Well, folks, we got a lot of great information from this guy. We got some more information to garner from him in our last segment, but you heard him. It's complicated. Give them a call. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with you.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to Spot on the Money. We've had a great couple of segments. We're going to wrap up the show by asking this man a few more questions. Before we do, though, Tim, can you tell us a little bit about your book that's coming out?
Absolutely. So I'm the author of the book, Do You Have the Green Light to Retire? And we're excited for you viewers. If you want to get a free copy of my book, all you have to do is call the 1-800 number, 1-800-685-3194. When they pick up the phone, say, I want to get a copy of Tim's book, and we will send you a copy of the book, or we'll send you a digital copy of the book. So feel free to do that. I really want to make sure that you guys have the opportunity to read it. I've tried to make it as simple as possible, not because people aren't smart enough to understand it, but because I think finances are already complicated enough. So I tried to make it as simple, and it also tells a lot about my family, my story, and what brought me into this industry, Ali.
Well, thank you so much, Tim, for that offer. Tell us a little bit about do-it-yourself investors. I know there's a lot of DIY going out there in a lot of different industries, but when it comes to financial planning, what are your thoughts about those people that are trying to do it all on their own?
Right, that's all the hype of anything you see now, right? Is the message boards, the forums, and everybody's a trader and understanding and the crypto and all that fun stuff. And
but I'm not sure that financial planning is done right online or in social media.
Right,
so,
yeah, exactly.
But tell us what your thoughts are.
So when you have all that pressure around you that you can do it yourself, a lot of people feel like, well, I'm pretty smart, I can get it done. And there's nothing wrong with thinking that way. But sometimes the simplest task can become the most complicated if you don't know how to execute it effectively. So we had this young lady who wanted to buy $5,000 worth of a particular stock. Well, she didn't want us to be involved in the transaction. She thought she could do it on her own. So we said, that's fine. We recommended that she makes a phone call to have it done for her, but she just wanted to do it. How hard could it be? Ali, this lady on accident bought 5,000 shares. Much, much more than $5,000. She calls us up, wants to know if there's some like special intervention that we can do. And I don't blame her for that, because we want to try to help our clients. We want to be there to say, yeah, if we can move mountains, we will. But if we can't, we can't. Right. And when it comes to the market, when you do that, it's done. Right. There's no takebacks.
Yeah, it's a irrevocable decision, I guess.
Irrevocable decision. And so you have to wait around to figure out if you can get out of it or not. It just becomes very complicated and stressful.
Yeah. Hopefully she didn't lose too much money in that situation.
It's been an interesting ride.
Yeah. And I guess that's the problem. You try to do it all on your own, and you make one little mistake, and that little mistake can be a lot bigger than what you think it is.
You click the button, and next thing you know, order's done.
Yeah. What are some other investment mistakes or financial planning mistakes that you see out there?
People letting their heart decide and the media influence them on doing something that they weren't very well educated at. So let me kind of give you an idea. We had one person, now they brought their money back. They realized that they were getting a little wild out there, but they said they wanted to cash in, a decent amount of their 401k to go trade options. Now that's advanced stuff. And you probably shouldn't start that conversation with a decent amount of your 401k. So people get hyped up and excited about things because this last 10 years it's been so easy to make money that everybody feels they can do everything. Thank God that they decided, hey, we're going to bring the majority of that back. Notice it's the majority, because they still got to play, but we look at that stuff as like going to Vegas, right? If you go to Vegas and you're going to gamble, then gamble, right? And that's the problem, is that a lot of people today are gambling with the wrong amounts, not gambling with the profit. I was just recently, in my neighborhood, we had a Halloween get-together for the children. And one of my neighbors was talking about how he tried to change his whole 401k into crypto.
Especially right now, I'd be a little worried about that, huh?
Well, absolutely. I don't think you should change into one thing, period. That's not diversification.
Right.
So people are seeing these stories, and media makes it sound so easy, crypto millionaires, right? But no one really understands what happened behind the scenes. And most of the time, only it was really luck.
Yeah, so it sounds like being emotional and listening to the media sensationalize things, those are two big mistakes that you can make when it comes to investing.
I think that they are. I think that if it really was that easy, then everyone would be mega wealthy.
Right.
And if ever the time, it'd be now in the bull market that we've had. So yeah, people are getting great gains, but it's been a very simplified process.
Yeah, I see.
It's only going to get harder, especially as volatility starts to come into the table again.
And we're seeing that volatility peak up now.
We're starting to see it, yeah. And we're prepared for that, Ali. Ladies and gentlemen, we're prepared for that. That's something we take very serious. Our CFA, very serious about volatility. You know, back in 2008 when the market crashed and people lost 50%, our CFA lost 25%. Took about 8 years for people to get back to where it took about 4 years to get back to where they were. It took our CFA about 8 months, right? That's the difference. You know, when you have an expert helping you out during those times of volatility, you should fare better.
Yep.
That's the point.
I know we're getting near the end of the show. I want to thank some people. Thank you to the crew behind the cameras.
Absolutely.
Thank you to the viewing audience, but mostly want to say thank you to Tim. You've shared a lot of knowledge with us. Do you mind telling us what you think the viewing audience should do next if they really want to tackle this financial planning stuff that we've talked so much about today?
Sure, Ali, and I would never be here if it wasn't for my family and my staff and my clients. They've made me who I am today and being able to help out families. And so if you're sitting there and you're thinking that this stuff is starting to get a little scary, that you have heard the media talk about this and that of volatility, and you really want to see how much of your portfolio should be Vegas money, or how much of your portfolio are you depending on, or what ratio of risk you should have, give us a call. We're going to do a complimentary financial analysis called our Green Light Retirement Check. Our number, 1-800-685-3194. Again, 1-800-685-3194. We'll give you that green retirement check. You'll know exactly what you have, and you haven't paid a dime for it. You'll come into the second meeting. We'll have it all packaged up real nice for you. We'll let you take a look at that. We'll go through that analytical analysis with you line by line, or as I say, as nerdy as you want to get, or as high level as you want to get, but bottom line, you will know what you have. If you want to know what you have, give us a call. 1-800-685-3194.
I like that, Tim, and I like how you said Vegas money because, you know, the money that we have at risk, we got to be prepared to lose some of that, right? Especially in these volatile times.
Absolutely.
Well, folks, you heard it from Mr. Tim Fitzwilliams, President and CEO of Fitzwilliams Financial. Give them a call, 800-685-3194. I don't think you want to wait on this. This is the time. Act now if you want to have a secure financial future. That's our time. That's our show. Thank you for joining us, and come back next week for another episode of Spot on the Money.